Good morning, my slimes. Welcome back, and today it's a bit of a different video. I'm taking a break from the normal learning to ride content because today I'm off to the Bike Shed Moto Show 2025 in London in Tobacco Dock. I'm starting it though here, Blackbush Airport. There's no Jet2 flights going to Ibiza, but I think they are going hopping around to the other little local airports in the area. It's super busy, but I only knew about it because ChatGPT suggested it to me. So the gig's up. I use ChatGPT to plan a lot of my routes. It makes it a lot easier, especially to find interesting stuff on the way, as well as Google Maps. And we're going all the way from here through central London. So we're going to hit some of these amazing landmarks we can see from the road, and it's going to be my first time riding in central London too. So there can be some nice footage of all the landmarks and the London traffic. Now, of course, you know by now I'm driving the Grandad Mobile, the Royal Enfield Himalayan, but here's a special surprise for you. If you notice, no, you're not drunk, you're not seeing double. There's actually two of them. That is because this one is mine and this one is my dad's. He's also just learnt to ride. He also just bought the exact same bike, and he also just bought the same jacket and the same trousers. He has no original thoughts in his head. So I think he lost the last of those with the last of his hair too. So I can say what I want about him. He doesn't watch my videos. He thinks I should just get a proper job. It's going to be both of us today on the trip. We're going to ride all the way into London. We won't race because he'll lose. He's breaking out the normal excuse. No, I just bought mine, I've got to break it in. Yeah, right, I know you only need 1,200 miles to break it in. He's got 1,600 on them. So, but we're going to have breakfast first. I'll tell you what there is to eat at Blackbush Airport. It's like, it's honestly, it's busier than Mecca here. There's so many people. There was a car meet on this morning, which just left as we turned up. I hope that's not a personal issue. And yeah, there's tons of people in here. It's a Sunday and everyone here is to watch the planes take off. I don't know. But it's quite a nice place. We're going to see if the breakfast's any good, and then we're going to shoot off. Let me introduce you to the man who bullied me for not being able to do long division when I was in year 7. There he is. What have you got?
He doesn't know what bullying is, let me tell you.
They can't hear what he's saying because the microphone's near me.
He's had it easy all his life. Like a little prince. He's treated like a little prince here.
Brown sauce.
Breakfast of champions.
Spent the past 5 years complaining about his cholesterol, but not doing anything to help it. Alright, I'll give you a quick review. It's tough to say whether I prefer this to a Wetherspoon's breakfast. I'm a big fan. I would give it's a strong sausage, which is obviously the most important. That's what my girlfriend tells me. The hash brown, very good, very nice and crispy. Egg good. Downsides, no pepper. Who's eating eggs without pepper? Who's serving eggs without pepper? And the mushrooms not top quality. And I'm a big mushroom man, so let me go to my colleague and let's see his comments on the breakfast. Oh, hang on. Let me give you the microphone. Speaking to the microphone.
Well, I suppose I've had
Closer.
better. I've definitely had better.
Closer.
Definitely had better.
Closer.
What, to the camera?
To the microphone. Can you go further away from the camera and put the microphone closer?
I can't, I'm eating it. I'm almost eating the bloody thing.
Right,
What's it, dessert?
And then the breakfast wasn't so good.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. No, it was all right.
All right,
average.
That's
It's gone. Your battery's gone, Rich.
Very generous, but no thanks. I'm not hungry. Look at this guy. Huh? Same helmet, same jacket, he's even got the same shoes, but generously he bought them in a different colour. And we've got intercom, haven't we? Yeah. But no Cardo, no Senna. We've got the premium. What's it called?
Fod Sport.
Fod Sports. We've got the Fod Sports. Yeah.
The Bluetooth device
Yeah, you haven't lived until you've used the Fod
is
Sports.
connected successfully.
But I'm not turning mine on, so I don't have to listen to it. So we've left the airport, we're on the way, we're full of saturated fats, so lots of energy for the road for that breakfast. And also, before we get to London, I want to use the time as a Q&A. So I made a post recently and I asked people to ask me some things they'd like to know. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to answer all those questions. If you do have any other questions and you want to put them underneath this video, fire away, and then the next time I do a Q&A, I will answer your questions as well. So the first question is, where does my desire to travel and like my love of traveling comes from? And I suppose it's appropriate that I'm doing this trip today with my dad, because that is in large part where it comes from. So when I was growing up, he always used to tell me these stories of when he went traveling, and he must have been about my age too. He used to be a civil engineer, very boring job. So he quit it and went traveling, and then when he came back he decided to become a firefighter. So he tells me all these stories of when he went traveling, and went traveling around Southeast Asia and Australia with his best mates, and sometimes on his own. And ever since I heard those, I thought, wow, that's like definitely something I want to do, because he has all these crazy and slightly reckless stories. So I definitely get it from there, and I think part of him wishes he'd never told me, because it definitely has like inspired me to be a bit more of a risk taker and a bit more adventurous. When I was 17, I went travelling for the first time on my own. I went to Iceland over my birthday, and I loved it. And then ever since then, I kind of never looked back, and I never wanted to do travelling with anyone else, because I love doing it on my own terms, and I love to be able to explore at my own pace. And the big thing, when you travel on your own, you tend to meet way more people, you make way more connections to the place you go, the culture, because you don't tend to stay within your little group, your comfortable group. You're forced to meet new people, whether they're other travellers or locals. And all my best experiences when I've been travelling have been like from meeting other people and like the unexpected things that happen. And it becomes basically a positive feedback loop. So the more solo travelling you do, the more fun you have, I think, and then the more you do. But my other inspiration, honestly, and I mentioned this in my last video, which is about you know, the theory test of motorbikes. Where does my passion for cars and bikes and road trips come from? Well, honestly, and I think this is probably true of most people watching this, especially if you're my age, if you're in your mid-20s, it definitely is from Top Gear. I grew up watching the Top Gear specials. I've seen every single episode of Top Gear at least 3 times. I know that for a fact because I watched them like all the way through. And not just the reruns on Dave, I've watched every single episode. And it's those kind of adventures that those 3 have that kind of inspired me, that it's not actually about where you're going, it is about the journey. So that's kind of my mission, is to have a journey with no end. And that's the one thing I've always wanted to do, but never really managed, is to do open-ended travel. And that's my goal, and that's why I want to do this major trip, this Trans-Africa trip from London to Cape Town, is because I want to do it open-ended, where there's no return date, because I think that gives you kind of another level of freedom. I know for sure that my interest for cars and bikes definitely comes from Top Gear and nowhere else, because I don't really even come from a car family. If you ask my mum, the best car in the world is a silver Hyundai i10. And my dad he's pretty handy. Like, he likes to fix the car. Well, I don't know if he likes it, but he does fix the car, and I've always grown up with dad like kind of fixing things and mending him himself instead of taking it to the garage. But in terms of having like a car for, you know, like for fun, no, they've always been just a tool from A to B. It's always been me that's kind of had an interest in cars. So that is something that's quite unique, because I think a lot of people, they grow up, you know, their dad had like a nice car or a car they were doing up. Not for me. So I think I've come to it, just from Top Gear. So the next question is about my Africa trip. Can I have a bit of an outline on my round the world trip? Absolutely. First of all, I'll tell you the story of how I came up with this. Honestly, I've been backpacking for 3 months, and I was in McDonald's in Bangkok at like 2 in the morning, and I was on just WhatsApping my mate, and I just kind of realised, like, I'm kind of getting tired of travelling for travel's sake. I needed a bit more of a mission, and to be honest, it was getting too easy. I've been to Korea with that guy recently, and we both said how when you do a lot of travelling, and of course I've been living abroad as well for like 2 years, when you're kind of outside of the normal for so long, it almost gets a bit repetitive, because one thing I like about traveling is the uncertainty and the excitement. It's like, you know, getting a bus is exciting when you're in another country because it's taking you somewhere new and you don't know how it works and stuff. But when you kind of get into a routine, even with traveling, that is kind of where I felt like I needed a new challenge. So I texted him and I said that I wanted to do our own kind of crazy Top Gear style road trip. And he agreed, and from them we decided planning. So we were going to do London to China, but we didn't want to go to the Middle East. So then we thought, well, where can we go that's going to be a lot of fun and is almost 100% over land, so it doesn't require any boat transfers or any of that. Let me actually answer your question, and I'll give you an outline of the route that I'm going to be taking. Well, we're going to start obviously in the UK. That one needs no explanation, but I'm not sure where to start. I'm thinking of starting at a pub and making it the world's longest pub crawl. Maybe Ye Olde Cock in London or something similarly immature. And then we're going to go down on the ferry. We're going to go as fast as possible through France, so we don't have to spend any extra time there. Then down through Spain and get the ferry across to Morocco. And then we're going on the coast on the western route, so we're going all around the west of Africa. So we're going to go around Morocco and through the contested territory of the Western Sahara. Then all the way down until you get to like the Ivory Coast, Sierra Leone, and along to Ghana, all the way along. And then we come through Nigeria, which is the part that I'm kind of most nervous about. So whenever you read stuff online, and I've done lots of reading about people that have gone overlanding, everyone who goes to Nigeria has some kind of trouble to different kind of extents. And it's not necessarily to do with the local people, it's actually to do with government officials and stuff. That's kind of what I'm hearing. But you never know, because you always hear the worst stuff, and lots of people go to Nigeria and love it. So let's see, but that's probably going to be the most challenging. Also, getting a visa is pretty challenging there as well. So we're going to have to get a visa somewhere in Benin, and that might be a bit of a slow period for us. Then we go down through to Angola, and finish through Namibia and down at Cape Town in South Africa, and hopefully go to the southernmost pub in Africa. So that's an outline of the route. It's hard to really plan it. We did sit down for quite a long time in Wetherspoons like a year ago and looked at planning it, but really beyond checking out visa requirements and things like that, you can't actually plan a route because things change so often in Africa. It's a very kind of a turbulent area, and that's what makes it exciting, but it also makes it really hard to plan because you don't know what roads are going to even be there. So the roads might be closed, they might not exist anymore, they might have made new roads, and especially the entry points and visa requirements. I mean, those change sometimes multiple times within a year, and even then they might not even be followed by border control. So so kind of a bit of a crazy thing to figure out logistically. The places I'm most looking forward to, well, I would like to go to Paris and then in Dakar in Senegal, because then I guess we could say we've done the Paris-Dakar. That would be an amazing bucket list thing, although probably won't be going quite so fast through the desert. Obviously going through the Sahara, that is going to be a once in a lifetime thing. Definitely don't think I'm going to want to do it again. We might do the iron ore train in Mauritania, but sorry to say it's getting almost too touristy at the moment. That's what my friend thinks, and I'm on the edge to agree. Unfortunately, people like me who take a GoPro with them and think that they're king of the world are making that too popular. So now I feel like the iron ore train in Mauritania is overdone. What do you think? Have you heard of it? I don't know. Plus it's going to be a headache because we'll have to take it there and back, because we have to leave the bikes. Obviously can't take those on the train. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then just quickly go search on YouTube after this video, not before it. Make sure you watch the end, but afterwards you can go and watch for it, because it does look really cool, very adventurous. I'd like to watch traditional Senegalese wrestling in Senegal. That's something I've always wanted to watch. And I'd like to try boxing in Ghana. Ghana has a bit of a boxing tradition, and they have some really amazing boxers. And I don't know if you know, but I used to actually coach boxing, compete in boxing, and it used to be what I wanted to do with my life was coaching boxing. But then I moved abroad, and I thought, you can't do everything. You can't travel and coach boxing because you need to be kind of fixed in place to box. But hopefully I can still box in Ghana. That would be amazing to do some training there if my ankle holds up. I'm really looking forward to Namibia as well. Those roads look amazing. I mean, of course, there's like that Grand Tour special in the Jeep buggies. That's what kind of taught me about Namibia for the first time. And actually, since then, I've met some people that have been to Namibia, and they think it is absolutely amazing. Can't wait to go. And I'm also thinking, depending how successful these videos get, maybe to take some breaks and do some diving along the way. When am I going to be meeting up with Liam? Probably a question a lot of you have, since I guess a lot of you also follow him too. He also makes motorcycle travel content. We've been around Vietnam together, and we went around Indonesia together before I smashed my foot to pieces. Unfortunately, while we had been planning to go to the Middle East, he's had a bit of an accident. He's okay. I'm sure he's going to put an update out on his channel when he's ready. But that looks like we won't be meeting up quite as soon as we'd expected. But we are still planning to meet up. So we were going to go around the Middle East together this winter. That might have to be delayed, although I think I still am going to go around Eastern Europe and maybe over to the Middle East on my own over winter. But it's much more likely that he will be coming with me to Africa now, since by the time he's recovered, it's a lot more likely that we're kind of synced up on our schedules. So sorry for that disappointing answer, but yeah, it might not be quite as soon as we've hoped. So we're definitely into London proper now. This is Richmond, and we're just going to go up through Richmond Park. So I've got just enough time for my last question, and the last question was, why do I hate monkeys so much? Good question. Actually, I don't hate monkeys. I quite like monkeys. It's just I don't trust them. They're very charismatic, they're very human, but the thing is, they're actually lethal. I just, there used to be like, or there still is, those wildlife parks like Longleat, where you can ride through. Nice Maserati there. Where you can just drive through, and then the monkeys, like, you can see them in the enclosure. I just remember, like, they always like rip stuff off of your car, and those are only little monkeys. And then you see all those videos of like chimps like just brutalizing each other, and like how big like gorillas are. Basically, just I group them all together. I don't trust a lot of them. I reckon they're so human you can't trust them, because you know, you can't barely trust humans half the time. So, and I feel like they can be like unexpectedly aggressive. Like, I've seen how they get, like in Bali and stuff. I've seen how they get when they get hold of like a water bottle, or they seem to like want to have things that other people have. Like, they always like take phones and stuff. Look at this through Richmond Park now. They always take people's phones and stuff like that. It's just like they just want it. So you never know what they're going to grab, and you never know if you can trust them. So that's why I don't like monkeys. They kind of freak me out a little bit. Plus they've got rabies as well. So I mean, I'm confident in my ability to like boot a macaque into next week, but they definitely have a go on you at the same time. And if you get bitten by a monkey and he's got rabies, no good. I don't know if that's like all monkeys have rabies or if it's just some. Please can you let me know, because that might ease some of my kind of concerns about monkeys. But like, you don't want to get bitten by a monkey. Game over. I mean, that's how AIDS got spread to humans, isn't it? Supposedly got bit by a monkey, as the joke goes. Ricky Gervais, yeah right. Yeah right. Definitely up to funny business with that monkey if he got AIDS from it. But so you just can't trust them. But my girlfriend loves monkeys. She loves monkeys. She's got absolutely no fear of them. And that makes me also scared, because they're like grab your hair, they can rip you apart. I'm talking about like small monkeys as well. I'm not, I don't mean like chimps. Like even the small monkeys, I just don't trust them. This is Richmond Park, and it's the largest royal park, and there are actually wild deer here. I don't know how many, but I think there's quite a lot of them. And I do know that in 2010 they escaped, and the deer were just wandering around. Wait, look, there's deer. Look at that. Can you see? Lots of deer. They're very chill. Oh my god. What? Talk about that for timing. Oh my god. But yeah, those bad boys, they escaped, and then they were just wandering around Richmond. Look. More deer here. This one has antlers. That's a man deer. I'm an expert in these kinds of things. There's more deer. You can barely move for deer here. I didn't think there would be this many deer. I thought you'd have to like really hunt them down. Usually they're very shy, aren't they? But these deer, no fear at all. Fearless deer. Fearless. Loads of bloody cyclists here as well. Probably one of them will overtake me, given my track record for speed. How are you feeling? Luckily for you viewers, you can't hear him, but he's complaining about his back. We're right in the middle of central London. I don't know how much have you seen so far because my microphone's turned off, but so far not crashed or fallen off or got lost, which is a surprise. We are slap bang in the middle of London. We're coming up to Parliament Square. Hopefully, if we haven't come off the route that I've forced Google Maps on, then it's going to take us right in front of Buckingham Palace. It is quite a long detour. We might not make it before 6 o'clock to the convention. In which case, the title of this video is going to be very different to what I'd expected. But so far, it's a nice road trip, huh? If we don't get to the convention in time, Dad's going to be very upset because he's bought about 16 different locks to secure his bike with. So we'll have carried around. His bag is clinky. He looks like one of the Hat and Garden robbers. There's so much hardware in there. And earlier it was vibrating, and I don't know what that's from. So here we are. My first time ever driving in central London. And, hey, who do we have here? I was a bit slow at the lights. The old Buckingham Palace. Actual Buckingham Palace. Yeah. Not bad for the first time. The flag's up, that means what? The Queen's in? Oh yeah, Queen won't be in. But the King's in. The King's in. And out the front, all the Americans now trying to ask her if she'll come out, say hello and take a selfie. Right, should we bash on? I'll just update you viewers. One thing we didn't realise is maybe we actually can't go down there because we've only seen taxis down there. So we're now wondering if we're going to get a massive fine through the post because I did have to convince Google Maps to take me there. I didn't want to, so let's see. Fingers crossed that we don't have a fine. Otherwise that'll be the worst kind of souvenir. This is a very London set of traffic lights. Red post box, London bus, Big Ben, Houses of Parliament, Churchill over in the corner somewhere, and a lot of tourists, and a lot of Lime bikes, a lot of Boris bikes. Houses of Parliament. Westminster Abbey is the House of Parliament, isn't it? Right, I'll cut that bit out. London Eye. Who's that? Boudica. And a green light. left here. Fair few bloody ambulances. Good place to have a heart attack. Or they knew we were coming to London, so they thought, okay, these two muppets on motorbikes, so they'll need a few extra on the ground today. Hey, yeah, there's a Shard there. Very good Italian restaurant at the bottom of that. Or just outside. So there's the Shard up there. Very tall. I think it might be the tallest in the UK. But if failing that, tallest in London. And very shortly, if we've planned it right, we should be coming up to Tower Bridge, which is not London Bridge. London Bridge they disassembled, didn't they? And rebuilt somewhere else. Tower Bridge, that's the one with the gate. Unless we've not done the GPS properly, in which case we might be going to London Bridge, who knows? Just got burnt off at the lights by a 125cc with a passenger, that hurts. So, I jinxed it. It's not Tower Bridge. There's Tower Bridge. So there's Tower Bridge, you've got a nice view of it. And HMS Belfast, but this is London Bridge after all. Of course I said that. Here we are, Tobacco Dock. And as the sign says, Grade 2 listed warehouse, spaces from 11,000 square feet to 90,000 square feet, indicates it's bloody massive. And just got to find somewhere to park up. We made it. And remarkably, not everyone has left yet. It's the first time I've ever come anywhere in a vlog and it's been open when I get there. What's the time? 3:30. Also known as better late than never. Luckily there's free parking, so to be honest, Dad said you don't even really need a ticket if you want to see motorbikes, you just come and have a look out the front. I think that's what a few people are doing actually. So I'll give you a little preview as we walk down. We're not even inside yet and I've seen a lot of significant others who have clearly been coerced to come and look at motorbikes. So we're here now, and if you know me, my first priority is actually finding where the food is. But it's especially funny because neither of us really know anything about motorbikes. He knows more about how they work, and I know what the names are. But we're walking along. Dad's like, "What's that one? What's that one?" And I haven't got any idea what's happening, but they're nice to look at. So neither me or my dad know anywhere near enough about motorbikes to be able to give any kind of meaningful commentary as we go along, other than, that one's nice, or good colour, wow, bet that one took a long time, and the occasional, I wonder what this guy does for work if he's spending all the time in the shed. So rather than giving you uninspiring sound bites in between shots of unique motorcycles, I'll give you a proper voiceover instead. I'm going to tell you what it's all about, I'll give you an overview of the best bikes there, and I'll tell you at the end if I think it's worth your money and whether you should go next year. So, what actually is the Bike Shed Moto Show? Well, it's run by the Bike Shed Motor Company. Their mission is to keep motorcycle culture alive. They also have a famous motorbike cafe in trendy Shoreditch. I've actually been there to the Bike Shed Cafe in Shoreditch and loved it. And that's how I found out about this event, from posters they had up above the urinal. So that's where I find all my important events. The event is way more than just rows of shiny bikes. There's live music, there's food and drinks, there's even talk shows. There was I thought it was actually going to be live, but actually it was just a streaming from, I think, somewhere in LA of Ewan McGregor and Charlie Boorman's Long Way Home, the new one that they're doing on Apple TV. They've even got a barbershop there, and not one, but 2 tattoo parlours. I was very surprised how much tattooing was actually going on there. I thought it would be there just for novelty, but there were multiple people lying down getting tattoos. We didn't get matching tattoos, maybe next year. We went on the Sunday, which meant we'd arrived right at the tail end of the whole event, and late in the day at that. So any chance of freebies or merch had pretty much been rinsed Friday is apparently a bit of more of a lively event. It's more of a party atmosphere, their words, not mine. There's a stunt show. I think it's sponsored by Triumph or maybe some e-bike company, so I wish I would have seen that. Would have been really cool. To have that set up in the middle of the event space was actually really cool. We saw the setup, but not the show itself. There's limited tickets on the Friday, and I think it's because it's more of a networking and media thing. I think all the influencers went on the Friday, based on what I saw on the Instagram. If I went again, I'd probably join the influencers and aim for the Friday next time. It seems to be more of a kind of relaxed vibe. Have a few beers, stay in a hotel, and sort of soak the whole thing in. Maybe come back on a different day to take a look at all the bikes. Fortunately, it didn't feel like a shopping mall or a trade show, but there was lots of merch if you fancied to buy it, so clothes and helmets and stuff like that, stickers everywhere. But like anything in London, it was all a bit spenny. If you're into freebies, I'd imagine Friday or Saturday is your best bet, because by the time we arrived on the Sunday, I think everything had been pretty much cleared out. We snagged a handful of stickers, and we were kind of forcibly given like 6 cans of Monster Energy to take home. They must have been desperate to get rid of it, probably to make reloading their van easier, but aside from that, there wasn't much. On the Sunday, there were a couple discounted things in the evening. I think they're trying to get the last stock out before they leave, and I did see a motocross jersey, which in hindsight I think I probably should have got. It was a decent deal and would have been great for riding in the blistering heat when I go over and do my Africa trip, but even then it was pretty pricey, like the food, as expected. Before I talk about the bikes themselves though, I want to tell you a bit about the venue. It was in Tobacco Dock in East London, very close to Tower Bridge, and it was really quite cool. The name is appropriate, Tobacco Dock, since all these Dakar bikes, they're sponsored by all the ciggy companies like Marlboro and Camel. But actually, the dock itself gets its name from its original purpose, which was to store imported tobacco. It was built in 1812, and at the time it was one of the most secure warehouses in London. Over the years, it's lived multiple lives. It was bombed in World War II, left abandoned for a while, briefly turned into a shopping mall in the 80s. That was a project which was a complete flop, apparently. And now it's an event space, which has echoes of a different time. I don't think they could have picked a more appropriate venue for a show. It's all about old school, custom, retro bikes. Even the wooden beams were so retro, they did threaten to be on the brink of collapse. Anyway, time to talk about the actual bikes, and there were a lot. The venue was split into different sections, and we started off by checking out all the Dakar bikes. That was a personal highlight for me. They're right by the entrance as well. And compared to my bone stock little Royal Enfield Himalayan, these things were clearly built for like the battlefield. They're proper desert racing machines. They were big. Seeing them up close made me realise how much smaller my bike is, and probably a little bit slower. I've never seen those paper maps they use in the Paris-Dakar, so that was really cool. I don't actually know. Do you have to scroll them manually, or is it automatic? Is it like tripped by some kind of GPS thing? If there's any Paris-Dakar rally experts in the comments, please drop your knowledge, because I'm actually very interested in this. And hopefully we will actually stop via Paris and end up in Dakar in Senegal on my round the world trip. It was a glimpse of the real deal, but I don't think I'll be going quite that fast on my journey. I'll just be tractor along. This one is my favourite so far. They've got a special modification. They've installed additional pineapple to the bike. So I'm pretty sure that's not standard, but they've installed a aftermarket pineapple. It adds speed and style and flavour. So if you get hungry on the road, you're doing the Paris-Dakar, you just grab a bit of that and away you go. You've got more glucose for another half an hour. By far the most impressive section of the show was Shed Row. This was because they're all home-built customs. So basically these are all bikes that people had literally built in their shed. Honestly, this is where things are most memorable and probably most creative too. Some of these bikes were just like works of art, honestly. You had one bike made entirely of stainless steel. That was my dad's favourite, not my thing, although it was undeniably impressive. Then there was one with a Hendrix Gin minibar in the wheel arch. So another modification I'm a big fan of. Nothing to do with the engine. I think a gin and tonic on board psychologically adds a lot of horsepower. I really like this one. At first glance, I just thought it was a Suzuki DRZ or something like that, some kind of dual sport. But then I looked again at the label, and it turned out it was actually a modified Royal Enfield Himalayan 411, just like mine. That was mind-blowing, to be honest, because from then on, it really hit me how far all these bikes have been modified from their original frame. Most of them must have just been stripped back to the engine and chassis and rebuilt from there. Some of the bikes can only be described as works of art, just sculptures, while others were raw and rugged and definitely have seen their time on the tarmac. And it was nice to see some of them being ridden home at the end of the day, like this BMW. And a couple of them were leaking oil. Those were triumphs, obviously. But each one had a story. I think the variety is a reflection of the motorcycle community, because you had everything from Honda Monkeys to huge Harleys, race spec Gixxers right next to classic Beamers. Royal Enfields were probably the most popular base for builds, which made sense, I guess, because they're cheap to buy, they're easy to work on, and then the parts are cheap, and I guess they're all quite easily available. You can buy all the parts for all these Royal Enfields off eBay, and then they come like 4 days later. It's pretty impressive, straight from India. There were stalls even selling ready-made frames for building your own bikes based around the Royal Enfield engines. BMWs were probably the second most popular base, probably because of that iconic flat boxer engine, which is so memorable. Half the time though, you have absolutely no idea what the bike is built on until you read the plaque in front of it.
That's a bit of you, isn't it? Nice comfy. What are you thinking, comfy seat? Are you thinking comfy seats?
One thing they could do that would really improve the event though would be to have a little piece of information about each bike, so you could understand the thought process and the design inspiration for each bike. Obviously every bike has a story, but sometimes you can't tell that just by looking at them. It would be nice to know where the creators got the ideas from. So like if the bike it had been built on had a unique history or any unusual quirks about the building process or anything else you wouldn't know just by looking at them. If it was up to me, I would get everyone who submits a bike to make a short information piece about their bike. Give them the option to upload videos and pictures of the building process, or talking to camera about what they did and how they built the bike, or even just photos and videos of the bike being used in real life. I think I'd then put a QR code on each of the plaques so you could scan them as you walk around, and then you'd be able to find out about each bike and who built them as you go. That would definitely have made the event way more engaging, although it would probably mean it takes the entire weekend to see everyone.
So this is what we got for lunch. Got a Korean spiced chicken. You've got a Vietnamese duck wrap, and I've got a duck burger with stuffing. What's the verdict? Show us on your fingers out of 5. 1. 4 out of 5. Not bad.
So lunch stop completed, we headed back in, and I know I said it already, but there was so many bikes. I had no idea there would be this many, and the venue just kept going on and on and on. Every room there was more bikes. Everywhere you looked, a section we hadn't been to yet. One cool thing that stood out to me was like hand painted bike decals. There was one exhibitor that was doing bike painting live. Whoever painted that could probably be a brain surgeon in their spare time. That's how precise it was. I'd love to have my bike custom painted by an artist. Now, let me tell you some of my personal highlights and my favourite bikes. Obviously, I've already mentioned that Royal Enfield Himalayan that looked like a dual sport. I love that, and I love the outrageous colour scheme as well. I also really like this I don't know how to pronounce it, Mali, I'll write it on the screen, Mal London Godspeed rally support bike. It had a super simple but very striking paint job. It was black and white on one side and yellow and white on the other, and it had the slogan "Prepare to get lost" across the fairings. That slogan, "Prepare to get lost," really stuck with me. Made me wonder kind of what adventures I will get up to when I'm recovered from my injury and I'm back out living life on the road, and of course bringing you lot with me. The whole thing looked well used, including some dusty tyres in desperate need of replacement. That's the kind of bike that's seen some real mileage. I also really like the Tenerés, the old school Dakar bikes, and the Honda XRs. These are the kind of bikes that I dreamed of having when I was a kid, but had to settle for a mountain bike. I can't wait to buy a little plastic bodywork, brightly coloured trail bike of my own. I mentioned already that I really like the big adventure bikes too. Those massive tanks, the rally liveries, Camel, Marlboro, Lucky Strike, all the rest. I know smoking's very bad for you, but you can't deny it looks cool on a rally bike, and maybe that's the problem. GSXRs were also relatively popular at the show, and there were 2 of them side by side, both a different take on the same platform, so that was really cool to see the same starting point taken in very different directions. And then of course there were some bikes that were just simple but beautiful. In Shed Row there was this Royal Enfield with a deep blue, absolutely stunning, and a Yamaha. It had amazing emerald green paint. 2 beautiful colours. Of course there were Honda Monkeys too, but you could do anything to a monkey and I'd still love it. Honestly, I like the stock ones just as much. Some of the bikes were technically for sale, although none of them had prices listed, so just price on inquiry, which to me screams you cannot afford this. Safe to say, window shopping only for me. I'd love to know who turns up and makes an impulse buy on one of these. Most of them look like they had years and years and years of work put into them. Blood, sweat, tears, probably a couple of divorces too. It's me or the bike kind of thing. So I imagine for the owners, they're absolutely priceless. Let me know in the comments what your favourite bike from this video was. Tell me if I've got good taste or if yours is very, very different. What are my overall thoughts on the event then? Well, the more you know about bikes, the more you'll get out of it. Like I said, probably one of the only ways to improve the event would be to have information cards about each bike. But even if you're a total newbie like me, it's still a fascinating day out. The atmosphere was super friendly, there was every kind of person there, all different walks of life, and all brought together by a love of motorcycles, or maybe sometimes by someone who dragged them along. It was also really well organised, which I always appreciate. There was a free cloakroom for your leathers, bags, helmets, all that sort of thing, and free parking right outside. For me, having all that included in the ticket price makes a big difference to the first impression of the event. I'd much rather pay all of that up front in the price of the ticket and have those essentials sorted, rather than kind of feel like I'm being nickel and dimed all day. I just made me enjoy the event a lot more, and then it genuinely felt like an event by bikers for bikers. So, would I say it's worth the money? Yeah, I would say so actually. It's an interesting, engaging day out, and there's nothing else quite like it from what I'm aware of. My ticket was just over 30 quid for one day. For just over 50 quid you can go on the Friday, and then I think you can re-enter all weekend. I'd probably do that if I was with a group of friends, and then make a night out of it too, go for a few beers, watch the show, walk around, and then come back the next day to really take in the bikes. We saw everything in about 4 hours, so you can definitely do it in one day, and it doesn't have to be a whole day thing. I'd definitely go again next year though, but maybe on the Friday. With a pint and a tattoo. Who knows? Let me know if you agree with my verdict in the comments, and did you go yourself? Let everyone else know whether you think it's worth it. We're one of the last ones out. In fact, some of the demo motorcycles have made it out before us. But we had a good day. I think probably a few hours is about right for us. Overall, what do you think?
Yeah, it was good.
You have to speak into this.
Food was good, and the motorbikes were okay.
So didn't like the motorbikes, but he did like lunch. Lunch was good, but it's very interesting. I think you would get more out of it the more you know about motorcycles. We established I don't know very much, but in the future maybe I'll know more. We're going to ride back now. If you stay, there might be a shot going over Tower Bridge if we get the directions right this time. But if not, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. I wasn't lying. I told you we'd make it over Tower Bridge. Thank you very much for watching. If you like this, please like it. If you have any questions for me for my next Q&A, then drop those down below. And also drop me in the comments what you want me to see me talk about next, or where you want me to go. And of course, don't forget to subscribe for the next video. Thank you very much, everyone, and good night.